Tom, what have you been up to this week?
This week I've not been doing a lot of shooting. It's been all post-production this week. So I've been editing a couple of weddings. I've been doing some photo wedding stuff, editing that Indian wedding that we talked about from a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, that's been taking up a lot of my time. I've been doing a lot of marketing as well, marketing research and implementing social media strategies. Where are you?
What have you done before we get on to me? What have you done in terms of marketing? Always interested.
So I've been looking into specifically Instagram and TikTok and their algorithms and trying to get my content more optimized for doing well on there, getting views and mainly getting it in front of the right eyeballs, which is there's like two ways to do that. There's organic marketing, which is more to do with like, I know it used to be big with hashtags, but I know hashtags aren't too big anymore on those two platforms, so you got to do less hashtags. I think it used to be like 30 that you used to do, but these days I've heard that it's between 3 to 5 hashtags on each one. And then what's really important is your descriptions and what you're writing in those little boxes at the bottom, because they're tagging keywords and stuff. Because I don't know if you noticed, but on a lot of these social media platforms now, something that you never used to be able to do, but you can search for two different terms now and then link them together. So say if I wanted to search for like cafes, it would show me cafes near Vancouver on like TikTok, for example, which is like more of a recent last kind of like 12 months, 2 years kind of thing. It wasn't really a thing before that. So your descriptions are a lot more important these days than they used to be.
Are you putting hashtags in your description or not? Just literally a description.
Well, on TikTok, yeah, I do that in the description. On Instagram, you can do it in the description, or you can do it as the first comment. It doesn't matter which one. But it's mainly more about having captivating captions now and giving information that way. That's why if you've ever noticed, if you watch some of these TikToks or Facebook reels, where say like there's a travel one where they show different locations and it says like rating the best cities in Poland or something like that, and it'll say reasons for this in the description. They want you to spend more time on the content. So if you open that description box and start reading it, the video is going to replay itself, so they'll get more points for replayability rather than giving you the information in the video. That makes sense.
So what would be a good description to put in? Say for example, you would say your client was a coffee shop in Vancouver and you filmed a promotional video for that coffee shop in Vancouver. What would be a good description, hypothetically?
I would talk about client experience. So I'd talk about what kind of service you're going to get at your coffee shop, where it's located, what's nearby. Do you do anything that differentiates you from other coffee shops? Because if you are a coffee shop that's doing a video, then obviously you're a lot more like high value added than other coffee shops. Like you're not going to get the local street side gang gonna like who makes like coffee on the street corner. They're not going to be doing a video, are they? It's going to be more like high end coffee shops. So you need to discuss. I would rely on more what specialty coffees you do, or what's in your store that's unique about it, or what's like about the client experience.
I mean, if you're posting, hey everyone, this is my latest project with coffee shop in Vancouver, what would you put in your description?
That's exactly what I just said. All that to do with the client experience and stuff, because you're going to get location tags. But on like say for example Instagram, you're going to have your location tag in there where your specific street address is. So that's going to get you for the geo tag, and then you want to use the description to be more the experience and stuff. What you're going to get there, what differentiate you from other people, because then you'll be pushed into the right kind of target audience. Because it used to be that you'd be like, be the same for your website, you'd be all over your descriptions and stuff like Vancouver coffee shop, that would be everywhere, whereas that's not the thing anymore. You got the location tag and then you got the description and then you got the hashtags. These things all kind of work more fluidly together, if that makes sense.
So trying to nail it down to an actual example, would you put something like, had a great shoot today with the good people over at Coffee.
Are you talking about me posting the video, or are you talking about them posting the video? Me posting the
video. Yeah.
What would I post? I would probably talk about the user experience that they've had with me, that they've not just received a video, they've received marketing advice on the video, they've been told where to distribute the video, they've been told how to put it up and what formats to put it up, and I'd emphasize that we've made a version for Instagram, a version for TikTok, a version for the website, and these versions have been optimized for those different platforms, and we've been given advice on how to do that. And then I talk about what they like, maybe include a quote if they've said like, oh my god, this video is amazing, or even better would be, we've seen a lot more engagement since we've been using your videos. I've just had a realtor only a couple of days ago say that she started uploading some of the videos that I've given her on social media and on Instagram and stuff, and she said I've seen a massive uptick in a lot of people talking about what properties do I have and stuff. She's been getting a lot more inquiries. So my next thing would be to take that and then put it into the original post, like say as a quote, and then put it on your story as like a text message and stuff. You want to like try and focus on what the client said about your experience more than the video itself, because we aren't really selling videos, we're selling solutions. That's the way you should see it, not as this product like a video. Is more this, because they're not interested in that. They're not interested in the video itself. They're interested in what's in it for me. How's this video going to help me to get my goals?
All right then. So to people out there watching about what they should put in, this just give me a couple of lines then of what you put in. How in depth would you go if you were doing it? Would you put like a whole because to put all that in, what you just said, it's probably about 2 paragraphs worth.
Yeah, I would put all of that. Yeah, I would. I think it used to be a lot more short descriptions. It wouldn't be applicable to TikTok because TikTok's a lot shorter. You don't have as much room to maneuver with your descriptions, but definitely for Instagram, you'd want to be putting more detailed descriptions on what you're actually doing, because you're going to be targeting people who aren't going to be necessarily looking at something for 5 seconds. They're more likely to read it than say if you're on Instagram posting photos of you and your family and stuff like that. It's a little bit different like that. So you've got to tailor it towards your ideal client. That makes sense. So I think it also depends on the content itself and what way it's shot and stuff, because on TikTok you're not going to be putting up like completely polished videos because it's not really geared towards that. TikTok's a lot more rough and ready. So I'd be more likely to post TikTok content that's more behind the scenes stuff for realtors more than Instagram. Instagram's more for the high end finished video. That makes sense from my experience anyway, but it depends on your area, your ideal client, things like that.
So again, hypothetically on Instagram, with that being a more polished, this is the end video. It's kind of come and have a look at what I produced for this client. You go into as much detail as to say, you talk a bit about the client, you talk about maybe what they came you with, and how your video offered a solution. And the solution could be something along the lines of they needed more high-end exposure, documenting that they have a range of different coffees what other coffee shops don't have. So you go into that kind of detail.
Yeah, well, you can talk about as well that them having a video makes them an authority in their niche that they're in. Other coffee shops around them likely don't have a video or have a video as good as the one that you can create for them. So you can focus on that as well. And like you can talk about in your post about the shoot that you did for them. Not them, they wouldn't post this, but you would post it, giving them this video in their client's eyes gives them more authority in that niche because they've actually gone out and made this video. It makes them look a bit more high end. They can probably charge a little bit more because of that as well.
It's interesting because I think that a lot of people think the job of somebody who's a freelance videographer or even got their own video production company, that all you do is go out and shoot videos. If you're not shooting videos, you're editing or having meetings or pre-production, but it's not. There's a whole different range of different things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And one of the big ones is, and the one that openly I struggle with more than the others, is marketing and how to market successfully and how to navigate online marketing, especially because it seems, for example, like Instagram, to keep changing the goalposts. As you said, once upon a time it was about hashtags, and how many hashtags now they're limiting. It's more about descriptions, and you can tag in locations, so you don't have to hashtag in the location. It all keeps changing and refreshing and it keeps us guessing really, because we're always trying to get our content out there for people to see, but sometimes it's difficult because we don't actually know how to get that content out there.
I think one really good tip for this would be, it's easier said than done, but one good thing to do is to pick a platform out of the main ones. You got LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You've got these different TikTok as well. You've got these different platforms. I would pick one as your main one that you think that your ideal client is on. So for me, that would probably be Instagram. That's where they all hang around most of the time. And then I would make content for that platform only and then redistribute and repurpose for other platforms if you don't have the time to do other platform stuff. Because like what I'm saying is the stuff about TikTok's more natural and organic content rather than clean, like finely cut content. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the polished content's not going to work on there. I've done stuff like that and it has worked. I've had some of my most successful videos on there have been the really polished content. But as a rule, you want to do more unpolished content on there. So, but it can work though if you want to do content for Instagram and then put it onto TikTok. So that's what I do if you are struggling for time. Just stick with one and then post to the other ones, because it will save you a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to, because if you're a one-man band, or if there's only a few people in your company, you don't actually have the time to market properly. It's a whole position. I mean, somebody who's working in marketing for a company, and it's this whole position where they have to push your product, understand marketing, and advise what's going on in market strategies and market trends, and you can't always do it. So I agree with you about picking one, perhaps two. For me, again, like you, it's Instagram, and then my secondary, I think yours is TikTok, mine's LinkedIn. I do quite a lot on LinkedIn. I've tried to push it a little bit more and circulate with different people and the decision makers of different companies. So if I can get in front of them and they're the decision maker, there's more likely to get the green light on producing video content for them. But yeah, admittedly, I find it quite difficult. And any advice like you've just given me, and obviously anybody watching, about how you would approach your Instagram, I think is valuable, because like I said, every single time I look at it, it's like exaggeration, there seems to be something different that you need to do to suit the algorithm.
Well, that's true, and I think there is ways that you can try and solve this problem. Like outsourcing is an idea that you could explore. I've got quite a lot of experience with outsourcing my marketing to different people, and I have to say so far it's not been successful, because what I have found consistently is that other people don't care about your brand anywhere near as much as you do. So I think even if you are going to outsource, you really need to know your stuff with this, and you really need to make sure the person that you're getting in understands your brand voice and what you're doing and what your goals and objectives are. Otherwise, it can quickly devolve into like best videographer posts going up like that. And I did pay quite a lot for a lot of these services. I paid someone quite a few £100 to help me with marketing and stuff. And at the end of the day, it wasn't really tailored to what I was doing. It was more general marketing advice that I got. So it can get quite expensive if you want to get someone in who just works and does your stuff full time. So you could explore that option, but you've got to be very good at spotting good talent and someone who can help you, and it's cost effective for you as well.
That is a whole industry in itself. I'm hit up literally daily on LinkedIn or via email or something about, it usually comes in two forms. One is building me a website, which I don't care about. And the other one is some kind of marketing to get me trending or whatever it might be, and to put me ahead of the pack and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know how many other people have hit up with the exact same email, but I imagine it's a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, when you again, another one could be like a lead generator, where it's almost like you give us 500 a month or something like that, and then we'll get you work. But there's no guarantee. What's guaranteed is what you'll pay them. What's not guaranteed is what work they're going to get you, and if they get you work. And then quite a few times, I know it's slightly different than what you said about marketing, but it's the same kind of thing about being approached. I've said to them, okay, we'll do it another way. For every business deal that you get me, on completion, I'll give you, we'll agree percentage what you'll get as a finder's fee. So I don't know, say if I made a couple of grand for a job, I'll give you 20% of that. Something even quite as high as that. Not one of them have taken me up on it.
Yeah, because it's then on them, isn't it, to get the work, and if they work harder, they'll get paid more, and I think only a good company would agree to that, because then it's incentivized for them to do the work. Whereas if you're just paying that monthly retainer fee, it doesn't matter. They can just claim that it's on you, and even if you leave them and go somewhere else, and someone else comes along and pays them that 500 quid a month, then they've still made their money. It doesn't matter to them, does it?
Exactly. When it comes down to it, where you say, all right, okay, let's work out something. So every successful lead, I quantified successful as when it's the money's in my bank from the lead that they got from me. I'll give them X amount of percentage, and we can do a written contract on this, so it's all above board. None of them want to know, which it just goes to show. It just goes to show that no one's willing to put the money where the mouth is. It's the same kind of thing. They could actually be more profitable in the long run if they're successful at their job, because they're getting a high percentage off me, and it's purely a finder's fee. They're not doing any of the work apart from bringing the business to me.
I think as well, with something like that, it can be hard to find your ideal client. You might get clients, but you might not get clients that you want to work with. And we spoke about this last week with when you were talking about real estate jobs and how you had two different jobs that were very different. And I think it's important to not just try and target anyone to try and target people who you actually want to work with, because, and we both found this when we've been working, the work that you get will inevitably lead to more similar work because you'll get passed around between other people like that. So I think you want to be careful about who you're approaching first and who you want to work with long term, because it will lead to more similar work. It's, say for example, now with my wedding website, I want to do more small weddings and elopements and stuff and destination weddings. So I'm going to go through and cull a lot of the weddings on there and get rid of a lot of weddings that don't fit that criteria, because they're only attracting the wrong clients anyway. And I think it's the same for you with that guy that you were working with that you said was like over your shoulder all the time and stuff. You don't really want to attract more people like that. So it'd probably be best to do it differently.
Yeah, it's difficult because you don't know the personality of the individual before you actually work with them properly. Yeah, it's carried on with that company. Obviously, I'm on a retainer with them, so it's my responsibility and duty to work with them and do the best that I possibly can. And I'm still trying to do that at the end now. I'm going to do everything I can this month. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to show that I'm very dedicated to it, and I'm going to do what I can to make it successful, and I'm going to make the multiple changes that they want me to make. So when month 3 comes around, I'm going to be in a position where they know full well that I'm somebody who's tried hard, worked hard, and put in way above and beyond hours for what I needed to do, I should have done within accordance to the contract. So when month 3 comes around, I'm going to stick to the contract, and they have an issue with that. I'll have to remind them that it is a contractual agreement, and I'm just sticking to that. And the previous month, I did everything I could and beyond what I should have done to try and foster a really strong working relationship.
It's quite interesting because you're actually going through something like this now. We can like see it in real time. So what have you learned about this client, do you think, that you would look out for in the future that you would try and avoid?
I think with me, I try and please the client and go above and beyond what I do. I've always seen that as a way to have a great relationship with the client, that they would value me. Think this guy always turns up, he always goes above and beyond, he does what he can, he's really good at what he does, and his work ethic, reliability and dedication, everything is strong, and we'll always have him back, and we'll always recommend him to other people. So then I will generate a good name for myself in the industry. I think that's kind of maybe a bit perfect world scenario, and I think in reality, I should have been a little bit more. Nope, it's agreed. That's the hours. I can show you exactly what I've done for that period in for the hours where it's gone, and that's it now. So we're gonna have to do something. Maybe go slightly over. Even then, that's me pushing it a little bit further. But I think trying to be the best I can be and work with this company, I think future down the line, I'll have to be a little bit more. I don't know if strict's the word, or stronger or more firm, and revisit the contract with them. But I always worry that will generate negativity and harm my future chances of generating a good name for myself.
That makes sense. What I'm thinking is there a sort of lack of respect for your time as well going on there, and kind of like you giving in a little bit, they're taking that as, okay, let's get as much as we can, which is by the sounds of it what is happening. So I think there's a balance between the two, obviously, because you do want to go above and beyond for your clients and get that referral and get more business from it and stuff like that. But then I think 1 or 2 hours over is probably, yeah, okay, that's fair. Mm-hmm. But then when you're saying we're 20 hours over, which is 9 hours over, it's almost another month. So I think that is probably too far. They've essentially got, I don't know what the retainer fee is, but they've essentially got it half price.
Yeah, they have. They'll come back with, look, if you'd have just done it right first time, then you wouldn't have gone over. They'd have still wanted 3 videos over 2 videos, which is usually what it works out to. And to be honest, it was a low retainer anyway. And I hate to say this, and I really wish it wasn't true, but I don't know if you found this. I don't know if other people who work in the video industry have found this as well. The ones who offer the less money The ones who are negotiating and holding on to every single penny are the ones that seem to come back and want more work off you, who push it and push it and push it and push it, rather than the ones who come in with a bigger budget, who agree a price, a fair price, a good fee for a good amount for your work. They're the ones who seem to be better to work with, easier to negotiate with, and allow you more freedom to do your job. I'm not saying it's going to be like that for everyone going forward, but there's a pattern. The ones who are always scrimping and scraping and pushing you down, doing everything they can to protect every penny, they seem to be the ones, them clients are the ones that always seem to be more problematic further down the line.
I think what a lot of it could be, it's their psychology and what they like. They may not understand that they're investing in a professional who's going to deliver a product that will sell and get more sales and stuff, and they can see the return on investment. So a lot of these clients who haven't had a lot of experience with video production or experience with marketing and stuff and return on investments in terms of digital marketing, or maybe they're a little bit late to the game on that front, they're not going to see the value in it and see the value in hiring someone who's really good. It's the same sort of principle as like someone who's painting the house on their own and they're going to try and scrape every single bit of paint out the last bit of tin, compared to someone who hires like a professional painter to come around and do it. You can do it on your own and you can do a decent job, but is it going to be up to scratch compared to what a professional painter is going to do, or someone who's professional, whatever trade it is?
Whoever you get, whatever you get in to do something that's creative, you have to be fully aware that they are not tapped into your brain, and they're not going to deliver exactly what's going on in your brain for different reasons. One, they're a different person. They see things differently than what you do. And also, if they're an expert in that field, they understand what can and can't be done. And often the other person doesn't. So when they don't see it as they want to see it and wonder why it's not like that, they often don't like hearing it's because that can't be done, or it doesn't work like that. And that I believe that's the problem.
Well, it's the same as what we were saying the other week, wasn't it? With a cinematic language, everyone can read it, but not everyone can write it, and everyone who thinks that they can write it can only read it.
Fundamentally, it's me seeing things one way and them seeing things another way. And that's where the clash is. And I'm not happy with a lot of the processes, but if you got them here right now, no doubt they'd
have a corner
potentially be they'd be potentially unhappy with. They don't think they get enough bang for their buck. So so I've got to be careful what I say, and I've got to be respectful to everyone and see where they're coming from as well. So even though it is our podcast and it's my opinion and your opinion on all these matters, I've still got to be fair.
So if you were to wrap it up, then what way are you going to approach it from now on? Are you going to do anything differently, or how are you going to go towards it next time?
With this client?
Yeah, with this client going forward.
I'm going to stick to the contract more. I'm going to stick to the hours as it is and deliver what's all my expectations on that contract. I'm not going to go above hours. I'm not going to do anything more than what is expected of me, because I believe it. I've done that on month 2, and I don't think it's been great. So, but that was me, in my opinion and in my way, trying to show them and do what I can to try and foster a strong relationship.
Okay. Well, now that we've gone through that, I thought that was quite interesting to listen to, because it's obviously happening live and we can talk to you about it and we can see what you're actually going through right now with it. But what I did want to ask you about was the documentary that you shot in Norway.
Well, that's completely different, and that's a much more jovial topic than talking about my recent woes of real estate. Like I say, it's brilliant what we're doing right now. I hope that people see what we're trying to do, and the idea is that there's going to be a lot of people out there in the creative industries, particularly in video production, whether it's film, videography, cinematography, DOP, whatever you want to call yourself, and they will face these problems and they will face these clients and they will have the same kind of ups and downs as what we've had along the way, and it's good that they can hear it from somebody else's perspective and see what they're going through, and hopefully help them in some way if there's any element of relatability to what I'm talking about. So no, it's all good, but obviously I need to be. It's a real. What we talk about is all real. It's not fabricated for our podcast. It's all real. So I've just got to be careful with what I do. And I think there's a lesson in that as well about how you carry yourself with, you can be honest and say how you think things are going, but at the same time, try and remain as dignified as you can, knowing it's only from my perspective.
Interesting.
But yes, documentary, something very, very different than what I did a few years ago. Right, okay, yes, I have shot a feature-length documentary. It wasn't meant to be, but it ended up being a feature-long documentary. And I would probably say to date, it's arguably the best experience I've had filming.
Well, you got to go to Norway, didn't you? So how was that? How was it shooting in a different country?
It was good. Well, it was via shooting in a different country how this came to be. And I think something what's really interesting with what we do for a job is how it can lead, one thing can lead to something else, and it can lead to something bigger and better and more opportunities, and you just don't know where things are going to lead in the most positive way. Rolling back, it was November 2021. I was working for a supplement company, and the supplement company sponsored a number of different strongmen. So they sent me out to Daytona, Florida, which was a brilliant trip in itself, to shoot their ambassadors compete in the Daytona Strongman Games. And when I was out there running around with the camera, again, great experience. Shot the strongest of the strongest people out in Daytona. I'd never been to Florida before. I got speaking to these Norwegians. Especially there was a lady who stood out like no one else for two reasons. One, she was absolutely killing it in all the competitions, and two, because she must be 6'3", taller than me, and taller than a lot of people that was around, with this flame in her. And she came across, and she was called Kiki. And Kiki, husband as well, it was also I got to know later, he was a super cool guy. I noticed on the back of his t-shirt would usually have their own names. He had Kiki's husband. So he was very pro his wife and very forward thinking, and that always stood out to me, and I liked it. Anyway, got saw them. I was out there in Norway, and then when I was editing the footage back later on, I was creating reels, I was creating different things. I remembered these people who stood out to me, and one of them was Kiki, because she stood out a mile and her husband stood out. So I found her on Instagram, like I was saying before, there's different ways of marketing. So I was tagging Kiki in the videos that she was in. I thought, you know what, great memories these. I've got footage of her triumphing and doing great things. So I tagged her in. She got back to me, love it, blah 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 blah. And then, conversation just opened. Obviously, she liked the work that I did, and they had a Viking strongman event that was going on the following year in Norway. Something I knew absolutely nothing about, and through conversation and going back and forth with Kiki, just online, they were looking for somebody to film this event. It was on beautiful grounds. Next to it is the Fefor hotel, and they were going to fund it as well. So it was a really well paid gig, and they wanted promotional content for it. So we negotiated everything. Everything went really well, and before I knew it, I was on a plane to Norway.
So, in terms of like logistics and stuff, what way did you price this job? Was it all inclusive and they just pay your fee, you sort out the accommodation and the costs and stuff like that, or did you bill them for the costs and stuff?
No, it was we agreed on an upfront fee, what it was. So we agreed on that fee. It was a really good fee. I was happy with it. It was what I suggested. I think it's going to be for this promotional video. So they agree with it, and then also part of the deal, because it was at the hotel what was actually funding me and the event, the Fefor Hotel. As part of my deal, I would get in it free accommodation and free food. And the food over there is brilliant. So I paid my own flights, but the flights weren't expensive to get from Manchester to Norway. It's only a 2-hour flight, something like that. And they'd also provide the travel as well from the airport to the event. And as I found out, that's a good 3-hour drive as well from Oslo open to where the event is. So they provided all that. Everyone was super friendly, super nice. So I was really happy with the deal that I got to shoot this, what initially at this stage was going to be a promotional video. Yeah, so that was good.
So what kit did you bring over initially? Because I know you said it was supposed to be a promotional film, and then it turned into a documentary. So did you find the kit that you brought was geared towards promotional film, or
Yeah.
did it just work for documentary as well?
It worked. It worked. I mean, what I was going to do is where I was going to shoot it was very much like it was going to be a documentary anyway, but it's going to be a promotional video. It was going to be shot so it almost looked like a documentary. So my I've got it here actually now. My documentary setup, what I use now and use as a thing, is this. And this is something that I think is, from what I've used, is my favorite way of shooting any kind of documentaries from head to toe. It's the Sony FX6. And the reason why I like the Sony FX6 so much is ergonomically, it works perfectly for me. I like the fact that it's got the built-in variable ND filter, so I don't have to worry about that. So if I'm going from day to night, I can dial in my ND. So I get great exposure, even when the aperture's open wide, so I get them really nice shots. I like the ergonomics of it. I like the way I've set up all different buttons where I have it on manual focus, but I've got my focus mag button here, so I can just tap it one time and it can lock into focus. I like the fact that it's got 2 XLR ports, so I can have multiple streams of XLR. I do usually run a shotgun out here as well, which I'm actually recording with right now. Addition to that, I attach my wireless pro, so the 32-bit flow audio, so I can just live somebody up if I need to. The lens I use is a lens that I think people sleep on all day, every day, and I understand why. This is my favorite lens for shooting documentaries. It's a 24-105 f4. Now, I think people don't gravitate towards it too much because it's an f4. I personally have no issue with that. People want to jump down to maybe a 2.8 for that shallow depth of field. I find this produces lovely shallow depth of field, especially with the compression when you're like, anything from 70 to 105 especially. I think it looks beautiful. This camera does not struggle in low light. If anybody knows anything about it, it's got 2 dual base ISO, one's at 800, the other one's at 12,800. It's an absolute beast in low light. I don't need to open to a 2.8 or 1.8 to let light through to the camera. This lens also as well has got optical stabilization in it as well. So I don't get any micro jitters or anything. So I can zip around. I can get a 24 that's relatively wide for what I needed. I can get in tight with the 105. It's great on battery as well. I like the ergonomics, like the way things are set up. I like how it captures all my audio. This pretty much does everything that I want to do when I'm shooting my run and gun. All powered, the whole thing can powered off a V-mount at the back as well. So I just need to hot swap, put the different V-mounts in when I want to. I like, this isn't just applied to the FX6. You can shoot RAW if you want to put on the Atmos 5 and things like that. Yeah, the 5 and things like that. I don't think you need to. Honestly, you don't. If you really want that RAW, you go for it. But I think the S-Log3 Cine codec is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you're shooting as you should shoot, if you're exposing properly, and obviously you can a bit more with a variable ND, you get plenty of dynamic range out of it. I'm not somebody who pixel peeps. You can get, if you know what you're doing with this camera, just like the other Sony cameras and lots of other cameras on the market, you can get amazing high quality footage. You don't need RAW, in my opinion. So yeah, this is something that I would take to my own documentaries.
Does that camera have the variable ND that it has? Is it auto variable ND as well?
Yeah, you can. You can set it how you want. So you can have auto ND, so you can auto variable ND, so you can run from interior to exterior, and it will adjust, so it keeps your aperture the same, but obviously it'll work the ND. So you're not blowing out your shot or underexposing your shot if you're going from indoor to outdoor, outdoor to indoor. So honestly, I think it's a fantastic camera for that. Also as well, like I said, I have it on manual focus, and then I can press in to make it automatic. But if you wanted it, you've got on the screen that comes with it, it's got amazing touch autofocus. Like a lot of the Sony cameras have these days, the autofocus is super sticky and it's great. And like I always think, these are your companions, these are your little buddies when you're out with their cameras, and it's important that you can rely on them. I've had cameras in the past I can't rely on. You've been on certain shoots with me in the past, and I've left it in focus, and then I've had to move to one side because I'm the one doing the interviews, and I've glanced over and I think it's dropping in and out of focus.
Yeah,
I can't. I need something dependable and reliable, especially in that run and gun. So I think this is a fantastic camera.
And so, do you have any other cameras that complement that, or did you just bring that camera with you, just that one for that shoot?
I just used one camera. I
Just
used
you
one
though.
camera because I was traveling, and there was only me out there as well. So if there'd have been, I did interviews as well, but I did interviews almost on the fly.
Yeah.
It was things weren't set up, so that what tested my filmmaking at that point was on the fly finding the right location, so I can get really nice angles, really nice backdrops. I can use the natural light successfully at different times in the day to create nice composition, nice lighting on my subjects. But for me, where things really changed over was that when I got there and I was shooting for this promotional video, I began to realize how interesting the stories were of the people that were there. And
Yeah.
even though it was in Norway, there was people there from Canada, there was people there from the US, people from Japan, other parts of Europe. And to them, this was their special place. It was a place where they could go, and the camaraderie there, the friendship, for most people, they'd return. They'd been there every single year. They'd save up the hard-earned cash, and they'd go to Norway for this Fefor event. And then, as it became more apparent to me with the amount of content that I was generating each and every day filming it, and following these individuals around, that it wasn't just could have just been a promotional video. But when then I went back to Kiki and Igel, her husband, who was running the show, I said, like, you've got more than a promotional video here. I believe you've got a documentary. The stories that these people have got, all quite individual, the competitors. It's super interesting, and it's got legs as a documentary. So at that point, they became interested, but they obviously wanted to see a first cut of it, see how it would go. But at that point, it took on a life of its own for me, and it became super interesting when I was out there filming.
And what would you say was your biggest challenge whilst you were filming that?
My biggest was my own personal fears. There was two things that fit under that fear umbrella. I was out there working. It was a great place to socialize, and a lot of the competitors, even though they were competing against each other, they socialized together, and it was amazing to see. But I didn't want to appear and be somebody who was socializing. When I was paid there, it was my job. So each and every night, I would go back up to my room, and I just watched the footage that I'd filmed. It was hours and hours and hours worth of footage. I'd just go back to make sure the interviews were good, make sure that I nailed the audio, make sure that everything was good, because I was scared to death of getting it wrong. I was scared to death of not doing this thing justice. And the second thing was, you've got people who are in competition. When you're in competition, you've got a certain mindset and a certain focus, and you're in a certain place. And quite often you don't want like a little camera guy, and I'm not a little man, but next time I'm quite a little fly buzzing around with the camera, filming them at the most vulnerable moments and things like that. So initially, like, to go up to these people and pitch the right questions at the right time to get the right responses, and yet also be very aware of where they are right now in the middle of this competition. I felt that side of it was the most difficult. It wasn't anything to do with the camera. It was negating that kind of world. But as I discovered, they were all amazing people,
Yeah.
and they were all more than willing to cooperate with my questions, and they were very open as well. It wasn't like getting blood from a stone. They were a great bunch of people to talk to. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to work with on that shoot in Norway.
And is there anything that you would change on the kit front that you brought with you?
No, I don't think so, because I like the end results. It's a fine line, because you want to bring more kit to cater for any potential scenario that could crop up. But at the same time, you also need the best possible kit that you've got, which is almost like the Swiss Army knife, what can do as much as it possibly can.
Yeah.
The only other thing is, you know what, I probably would have brought a stills camera as well, so I could take some stills as I was going around to get some really nice imagery of the people competing. And I think it would have been. It wasn't necessarily. You could put it in the documentary, but I think it would have been really nice for the memory's sake of it. Some really nice stills to go along with the footage. But they had a cameraman there anyway. They had a photographer there as well. He was shooting it. So from their end, it wasn't any kind of drawback. I wish I was more sociable. I kept myself to myself. I didn't want to seem like I was there for a holiday vacation when I was being paid. I'm not the most outgoing person anyway when it comes to things like that. But on meal times, I quite often sit on my own. Um, because I just, you know what I mean? I sat on my own, had my food, and my goal was eat your food and get back up there and get looking at the edit because that's what you're here to do. I wish I, and you know what? Since then, obviously a lot of them have followed me on social media and I've followed them back. And still to this day, you know, I see that and I comment on their post and then comment on my post and I'm in communication with a lot of people there from that shoot because there was such a great bunch of people and
Yeah.
hopefully one day, whether we make, I don't know if you can do sequels, documentaries like that, if we do another one, or I just go over there as a spectator and just soak it all in without the kind of the pressure that I put myself under to do the best work that I possibly could when I was out there. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't relaxing because I was
Yeah.
so
You're so
scared of
stressed.
things not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very stressed. I was very stressed to make sure that everything that I was doing was as good as it possibly could. But you know, there was about 3 or 4 people, especially that I followed round, who were great people, and I got their stories. There was adaptive strongman, strong. There was 3 that were competing. They were amazing guys, and there was a lady who had a car crash only the week before, but it meant so much to her. She'd made her way out there, and there was Kiki herself, who's an amazing person, who was running the show, who's brilliant, and it all fell into place. So it was kind of a meant to be, and the reason why it's called Wonderland is because it became apparent to me that this is the Wonderland. It's a place where they all get together. There's so much love and companionship and compassion for each other. It was almost like the competition, even though it was there and real, it almost felt secondary to these people just really loving being there.
Yeah. So one thing before we wrap up that I really want to know is when you open that edit, and I don't know how much footage you had, but I imagine it was a lot. Where do you even begin?
I had it in my mind. When I shoot anything, I've kind of got it in my mind. I must admit, after the first day or two, it was about finding what stories are out there, and I was very, very fortunate because people just presented their stories to me when I asked them,
Yeah.
and they were really, really good at forthcoming. But I had it in my mind, and as it played out, the whole idea was it was very much real, meaning what I went out there, what I thought I was going to find. It wasn't like that. It was way better, and it was almost like somebody who was completely unaware of Fefor and this Viking strongman event. You'd have a preconceived notion of what was going to happen out there. Big,
Yeah.
strong people in the Viking way, lifting in a great event. I didn't know it would have such depth. So when I came to edit it, it was from that perspective. It was about it's a Viking strongman competition in Fefor with beautiful backdrops, like. But then, as it progressed, I put my own voice over in it, so it came from my perspective as I began to learn more and more about these great people, more and more about the competitions and what they meant to each other. And then it had a great ending, what kind of summarized everything for me, what was totally organic, which was the person who won the competition awarding their trophy to somebody else just because of all that they'd been to. They give up their prize and they got it all on camera. I even got a world record on camera as well. So yeah, it was a very memorable experience, and it'll take some going to top that, I think.
So have you got anything else on the cards that would be similar to that coming up?
I'm in the process. I'm actually working on 3 documentaries. Actually, there's 4, if you will, because one that you was part of, and I still don't know what's going on with it, if I'm being totally honest. There's a band that was really, really successful in America in the early, like 20 odd years ago now, in the early 2000s, who like #1 for 14 weeks. It's a great story. They're 3 British guys, one from the same town as me in Wigan, one from Manchester, one from Liverpool, where you're from, Tom. And you know, they would tour with Brittany and Sync. They were massive. They were on Disney. 14 weeks at #1, something like that. But they never really hit the same kind of heights. back home in the UK, and I wanted to document that because I thought it was very interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And obviously that's something that me and you we filmed the live gigs. We've got loads of archive footage and interviews with them and everything like that. So there's that that's still out there. And then I'm working with a former professional rugby league player right now whose life story is a roller coaster. So many ups and downs, so much more than just being a professional rugby player with things that's going on. And it's an amazing story to tell. And I'm in the middle of doing a documentary with him as well. So we're going to see where that one goes. And the other two I can't really talk about just yet. But out of all the things I've created and done so far, I've loved a lot of them. But shooting documentary with real people, getting real stories, and being creative in that field, in that space, that's what I enjoy the most.
Well, I think that's quite a nice positive note to end on.
Yeah, better than the real estate stuff, which seems like it's which seems like who knows right now. But yeah, exactly. And that's good, and that's life, and that's what the job is. It is full of ups and downs, and you know what? Of everybody I met, I don't actually dislike anybody who I've met. We just could have different opinions or different whatever like that, and it's all good. And you know, I don't have bad opinions of people. It's just work, it's just clashes. And I wouldn't wish harm on anyone.
So go on, what's coming up for you this week then? What are you working on in the next 7 days?
I've just today I was shooting for a company. I've never shot with them before. It was a really nice company. It's a promotional video for what they do. I can't say too much about it yet. But I've spent the day filming with them, and it went well. Really nice people. We got through quite a lot in a day, so I've got to watch the footage back, see what that is. That's the major edit, and I'm also on the final stages. I color grade as well, and I'm color grading for an independent film called Ronnie's Bar. What's been going on for quite a while now. I need to wrap that up now and get that back over to the producer so they can look at the grade. I previously worked with them. There's one called Hood Western, what's on IMDb now. I color graded Hood Western for them. It went really, really well, and that's why they came to me again for Ronnie's Bar. So I need to get through that, and then obviously I need to go back into the real estate world as well. So that's going to keep me busy this week. What about you, Tom?
I've potentially got 3 real estate shoots out in Kelowna again, which is, as you know, is 4 hours away. So my current thing is I'm waiting for them to get back to me, because what I'm trying to do is sync those 3 shoots up so that they align on the same day, so I don't have to go out multiple times or stay over for quite a bit, because 4 hours is quite a while away. I think I will stay over. I don't think it's a good idea to do 4 hours there, 4 hours back in one day. But my current thing is trying to figure out whether it's easier for me to drive there or it's easier for me to just fly there. It's like half an hour on a plane, or it's a 4-hour drive. So it's I'm trying to figure that out. And then I've got I'm rejigging my website a little bit, like I mentioned at the beginning, the wedding website. I'm focusing on weddings at the minute over corporate, so I've got to do some interesting stuff for that. And yeah,
It's all tough. It's all tough. It's all tough to keep in the grind and keep getting new work and new jobs, whether it's wedding, corporate, whatever it might be. There's different ways that you can earn your money through video, but personally I find it all tough, and I think one of the battles is keeping going, and I don't think people realise the slog of it.
oh yeah, it is, because I feel like it's difficult for me as well, because I've got 2 separate businesses, the wedding video business and the corporate business. They're both completely separate, and I've got social channels for both of them. I've got marketing costs and upkeep costs for both of them, website maintenance for both of them, guerrilla marketing for both of them. You know what I mean? It's difficult in that aspect, and it's a lot more than just what people think it is, turning up with the camera, shooting, and then going home.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it does offer a lot of great experiences and things.
That's very
but
fulfilling.
obviously, yeah, it's just like, yeah, and at the same time, it's also very tough as well.
Yeah, because every now and again you can create something like Wonderland. So I imagine that makes it all worth it.
Which also I will add as well. It sounds like I'm patting myself on the back, but whatever. It's now on the British Film Council as well, so it made it onto that. So that's a big achievement for me. And I was so sad that I missed it, but full circle the year after, obviously, because I first got to know these people at Daytona 21, Daytona 2022. they actually put a big screen out and they premiered it as well before the show. So that was really cool. I'd have liked to be in Florida to see that, but I wasn't. But the good people are out there who was at FIFA and everything. They were great. They were sending me video footage of the big screen and watching it, and
It's cool.
imageries and things like that. It felt really good. I'm not gonna lie, it felt really good. It felt really rewarding and satisfying to have that there. And if anything, it made me kind of hungry to do more in the documentary space, because I could see how much the people were enjoying it as well, which was very rewarding.
We can drop a link to that, can't we, in the description as well, so people can see that.
Yeah, we can, Tom. Well, Tom, it's been good talking as always, and I'll catch up with you next week for another wonderful episode of The Camera Guys.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see you next week.
Let's do it. See you later, Tom.
See you later, David.